The Utah Jazz have traded away some of their players that have been key to their team's success, like Rudy Gobert, who was traded to the Timberwolves, and Royce O'Neal, who was traded to the Nets. Now the Jazz have the decision to continue this trend of trading their players and rebuild, or try to build around their star player Donovan Mitchell. There have been reports saying that the Jazz are listening to trades involving Donovan Mitchell, so there's a high chance that Mitchell will get traded before the season starts. But what if they can't find the right deal that gives them what they want to trade? Then what do they do next? Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets have been an example of this, with the Nets still not being able to trade Durant due to his value being so high that a lot of teams don't have enough to get KD. If the same thing happens to Donovan Mitchell, then would the Jazz be inclined to keep him on their team? Because if that's the case, then I don't think that they will get fired with the roster they have. Their team has a lot of good role players like Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, Patrick Beverley, and Jared Vanderbilt, but I think that the players they have on their roster only get them to a 7th or 8th seed in the West. If the Jazz decide to build around Donovan Mitchell, then I think they would need to find another star player for them to be contenders in the West. The reason I think the Jazz would need another star player is because I don't think Donovan Mitchell will be able to lead a team by himself. If the Jazz decide to move on from Donovan Mitchell, then they will have to be aware that they might not be able to get a player as good or even better than Mitchell. It might take a while until the Jazz make it back to the playoffs if they choose to rebuild. On the other hand, I don't think building around Donovan Mitchell will work either. When they traded Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves, they got 5 first-round picks, so imagine what they can get if they trade Donovan Mitchell. If the Jazz decide to rebuild, then they can also trade some of their role players for first-round picks. I can see the Jazz trading Donovan Mitchell to either the New York Knicks or Washington Wizards. Each team has to draft capital and young players to make this trade happen. The Jazz won't have to rush their decision of trading Donovan Mitchell or not, because they can see how he does this season with the changes they made with their roster. This way they will be able to find out if he's capable of leading their team to a championship. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jazz keep Donovan Mitchell on their team or if they trade him. This will be a big decision for the Jazz, because if they make the wrong choice, then it can have negative effects on their franchise.